Spoilers.
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 Spoilers. Spoilers. Spoilers. I like that word.
I thought you might.
Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Did You Know? And this week we will be discussing a bit of in-universe trivia about the story Boomtown, which is, despite the fact that there was only one of them on screen, there was actually 3 different versions of Captain Jack Harkness present during these events. The first version is the obvious one, the younger Jack travelling with the Ninth Doctor and Rose, who takes part in the story. That's nice and simple. However, as was later revealed in Series 2 of Torchwood, Jack has been involved with Torchwood since 1899, and was even later in charge of Torchwood 3 at the beginning of the year 2000.
This place. It's yours. Torchwood 3. 21st century, Jack.
As Boomtown takes place during 2006, this means that the older Jack, who had to wait through the entire 20th century in order to meet the Doctor at the right time, was in fact below his own feet the whole time, with the rest of his team, with the exception of Yanto and Gwen, who hadn't yet joined. It was later explained in the novel Twilight Streets that because he knew his younger self was currently so close, the older Jack in charge of Torchwood at the time put the hub into lockdown for the duration of the events of Boomtown to prevent himself and his team from running into his younger self. But this is where it starts to get a little bit complicated. In the Torchwood Series 2 finale Exit Wounds, it is revealed that an even older version of Jack, who has been transported back in time and buried alive, was discovered by Torchwood agents in 1901. This version of Jack, the oldest of the 3 chronologically, was put into a cryogenic storage to be woken up later during the events of Exit Wounds. This was done to prevent him crossing his own timeline and encountering the younger version of himself, who was in the employ of Torchwood at the time he was discovered.
You're supposed to be out there working for us.
I've crossed my own timeline. I can't be allowed to meet myself.
So let's just run through this in the events of Boomtown. The youngest Jack was part of said events. The older Jack, in charge of Torchwood, was in lockdown in the hub. And the oldest Jack was in cryogenic suspension, also in the hub. So there we have it. Well, not quite, because it's about to get even more complicated. Because as another side note, this means that during the 1900s, there was a consistent period where 3 versions of Jack existed. There was the youngest Jack working for Torchwood, there was the oldest Jack in cryogenic suspension, but also the real Jack Harkness, from whom Jack took his pseudonym, is presumed to have been born sometime in the early 1900s, so he would also have been alive at this time. But just to complicate things that little bit more, there is in fact another turn of events where it means that there were 4 versions of Jack existing in 1941 during the Torchwood Series 1 episode, Captain Jack Harkness. There is of course the youngest Jack in the employ of Torchwood in 1941. There is the present Jack involved in the events of Captain Jack Harkness along with Tosh. There is also the real Jack involved in the episode in question. And lastly, there is also the cryogenically suspended Jack in storage in the Torchwood hub. So 4 Jacks. No. Because a possible 5th version of Jack existed. The events of The Empty Child take place during an undated point during 1941, so it's possible that the time agent Jack, from before he took the real Jack's name and met the Ninth Doctor and Rose, was present on Earth during this time too. So this means that this version, chronologically, would actually be the youngest. So throughout history, there have at least been 5 versions of Jack existing, and at least 3 during the events of Boomtown. I mean, it really does make me wonder that maybe the reason for the Cardiff Rift opening in the first place isn't a timey-wimey thing. It's just that the universe can't contain the ego of that many Jacks in one place at the same time. But that brings to a close another Did You Know? As always, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Like, favorite, subscribe, share, it really helps me out a lot, and be sure to check out the description below for a link to my Patreon. I'm doing my very first figure animation, and you can get involved. There is exclusive content and rewards for those who do so, and supporting my Patreon in any way gets your name at the end of my videos. I salute you all, and I will see you with another video very soon.